Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Boring AFC. And I guess the first question I need to ask you is, have you come down yet from the weekend? They left it late. Arteta proved again that he is a sensei when it comes to substitutions. 11 from the bench now. Max Dowman sets up the first, scores the second. All of the subs are involved, and relief and ecstasy across the fan base. And then Man City go on to draw. It was nearly perfect with Tottenham losing, but it's okay because we're sitting pretty at the top of the league with 9 points clear, even if City do have a game in hand. But something slightly more sobering, I think, is that we need to look ahead. And before I do that, something that isn't quite so sobering, it is St. Patrick's Day. I'm wearing green for the occasion. I will be wearing green later. I will be sipping a Guinness, and I will hopefully be watching Arsenal beat Bayer Leverkusen to go round into the next round of the Champions League. So that is our main focus today. We're going to be talking about Arsenal and Bayer Leverkusen. There is a preview here. I'm going to review the game real quick, look at the game tonight, and hopefully we can feel really confident going into that and making waves in the Champions League as we have been doing. Okay, so let's talk about the first game. Arsenal went to Bayer really confident off the back of a number of good victories, found some form after Wolves, and I think we had every right to feel confident going into that game. They were in poor form. They were sixth in the Bundesliga. We're flying high, and we got a 1-1 draw, and we were really lucky. Let's not make any mistakes about this. Arsenal were lucky to come away with a point, and it's not just because Arsenal were bad. They were bad, but we have to be honest and hold our hands up and say it's because Bayer were excellent. Bayer were excellent. They had a game plan. They played it to a T. They knew we were going to get the ball out wide, and they knew that we were going to look to exploit them on the corners. So what did they do? They completely nullified all of that and beat us at our own game while they were at it. So when Saka had probably his worst game in an Arsenal top, and that's fair criticism, but the way they defended completely nullified him as well. In the wide areas, they completely closed out the attack, and they had as many as 3 defending players on a winger at any given time, triangulated around them and made it impossible for them to do anything. And this is pretty much why Saka was nullified, because he is the type of player that is going to come in. And so that pathway was blocked off for him. And this is why Noni was more effective than he came on. Noni is a more direct player. He's going to run at players and he's going to try and take them on. Saka isn't going to do that as much. He's going to look to pass around them and break through that way. And so in that sense, their game plan was excellent because they took Saka out of the game. What they didn't account for, I think, is how quick Arteta would pivot. And they brought on Noni much quicker than we're used to seeing him come on. And that meant that Noni had the run down the wing, and that's essentially why we won the penalty. And we can debate whether it was a penalty or not. The guy falls on his foot, so you kind of make it difficult for it not to be given when something like that has happened. Whether or not you think it was soft or not doesn't really change anything. Bayer also beat us at our own game. They scored a set piece. It was an easy set piece. It was shameful defending, really, for a team of Arsenal's quality, and it's the type of goal that Bayer have scored this season as well. So it's not like it's the first time they've tried it. It's the type of thing that Arsenal have been watching in their training grounds, and they should have known that was coming, and they did a poor job. Defending it, we can also debate whether that player should have been on the pitch at all, because there's an argument you could have had 2 yellows within the space of about 3 minutes. But that's neither here nor there. We got the penalty. Havertz scored it. Like I've already said, it was a penalty, but I also think that Havertz deserves a little bit of credit there. He spent there's a lot that goes into that moment. Not only did he have to wait 3 minutes to take the penalty, this is also his boyhood club. He was there for whatever it was, like 10 years as a youth. He's come through the program. There's still a lot of love there. You could see that in the way that the game was building up. There was a lot of sentiment still there. And he had to step up and deliver a dagger, and he did. So fair play to him, because he had to do that, because otherwise Arsenal were going into the next game really struggling, and he did what he had to do for the team at the right time. So fair play. Let's talk really quickly about the preview then. In terms of where Arsenal are right now, they are going to be buoyed by that Everton victory, because it was tough. Unlike the Bayer game, where Arsenal played bad, Arsenal weren't bad in this game against Everton. They were very good. Everton were just excellent, compact, strong, immovable forces at times. And let's not forget, they've got the third best defence in the league, and I think they have the third best away record as well. So this is a team who are not, they're not here to participate, right? They're here to ruin the fun. And they very nearly did. And if they had, there wouldn't have been a lot of criticism you could have had for Everton. Arsenal should have had a penalty. In fact, that penalty was more stonewall than the one they got against Bayer. However, Arsenal had to work for it, regardless of whether the penalty was given or not. And the things that we saw there was that Eze is looking so much more confident on the ball. He is playing from a deeper position, I think, or he's starting from a deeper position, which is allowing him to make the line-breaking passes, but it's also allowing him more time on the ball, to be more artistic, to be more creative. And we haven't really had that from Eze in the 10. And he's starting to do that more and more, and we're getting our springtime Eze. So going forward, you have to think that, Eze is going to play this game because Martin Odegaard isn't ready. And because of that, whether or not Odegaard is ready for Sunday, you've got to be starting Eze in that game too, in my opinion. So this is a really important game for Eze, not just because he gets to continue doing what he's been doing over the past couple of weeks, but because he needs to get his rhythm really in place ahead of the game against Man City in the Carabao Cup final. Arsenal will have one eye on the Carabao Cup, and that's inevitable. But having players hitting form at just the right time, you could see that Arsenal were changing the way they played as opposed to when they did against Leverkusen. They were much more aware of that 3-on-1, and they were releasing the ball quicker. It was more direct. Like, all of it was much better. So you have to think that that's the kind of momentum they're going to want to take into this game and then into the game on Sunday. And then you also have the fact that we have such influential impact subs as well. Any of our subs can come on and make an influence, whether it's a defender or it's an attacker. So in that respect, you've got Dalman as your ace card. Wouldn't like to see him starting. And if he doesn't need to play, don't bring him on, right? But you've got ace cards as well as people who are tried and tested and can come off the bench and make a difference. So with that being said, I'm going to talk very quickly about what I think the predicted lineup will be today. So this is what I've got. I've gone for Raya in goal because I think that is, that's a standard. There's no way Kepa's playing in this game. I've gone for White. Timber's not available, and I suspect that he might play Mosquera, but I would like to see White in this game, particularly. And I've gone with the same on the other side for Calafiori as well, particularly because if Bayer are going to use the same sort of game plan where they're going to be doubling and tripling up on the winger, we're going to need a fullback on either side who can either overlap or invert. And Calafiori is more likely to invert, and you've got the overlap in White. And I just think that might open up the space a little bit and make it easier for the wingers. So I'm going for White. You have to think that Timber's only out for a couple of days apparently, and Timber's probably going to be starting the Carabao Cup final, right? But if he's not, you're going to want White to play in that game. And if you are going to want White to play in that game, White needs minutes in this one. We know that Mosquera can do a job, but his job is defensive, right? So we need someone who can offer a little bit going forward. Timber's getting better at it, but when it comes to games like this, White is your man. So I've gone for White right back. I've gone for Willy Saliba as centre back partnered with Gabs, and then I've gone for Calafiori for the reasons I've already mentioned. I think that the triple up will be a threat again in this game, so having Calafiori there as the option, who can play a little bit in overlap, will be necessary. That's not a slot on Hincapié. I just don't think this is his game. But he could also be a finisher. I've gone for Zubimendi and Rice because I just don't see him changing them at this point. And then across the attack, I've got Saka, Eze, and Noni. I want to see Noni in again at the left. In an ideal world, you might see Eze there. I just don't see him going with Trossard or Martinelli right now. I think Noni's in good form and he's always giving for the team. Eze, as I've said, he's starting to find some form. And Saka's going to need the minutes because there's no way he's not going to play against Man City in the Carabao Cup final. So he's going to play and hopefully he can do some fun stuff with White. Havertz up front because he is our best forward, and then you've got the opportunity to use the likes of Gyökeres or Dalman, Jesus, whoever else, Martinelli, Trossard from the bench if we need, or if we're desperate and we need to roll the dice. So that's my starting 11. I think it's probably a little bit more, it's definitely more attack minded than I think some people will predict. But I just think that this is the game where, based on what they did to us in the first fixture, I think this is the kind of game where you are going to want more attacking and direct fullbacks. So this is my 11. Let me know what you think in the comments, because it would be really cool to see what your teams are and what they look like. And in the meantime, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm trying to grow my channel. As soon as I get to 50 subscribers, I can stream live and interact with you guys, which is ultimately what I want to be doing. Thank you for watching. Before I go, I'm predicting a very strong 2-0 win from Arsenal. I don't think Leverkusen are going to have enough. And with that being said, let me just come back to the main screen. Thank you for watching. And as always, up the Gunners.